I didn't hear the gunshot. I didn't even see the knife. All I saw were the lights. Blinding, white flashes tearing through the Seoul night. I was 24 years old, the daughter of the Nigerian ambassador, and I was about to die on a sidewalk in Gangnam. The crowd was screaming, a terrifying wave of noise that drowned out my own thoughts. I stumbled, my heel catching on the pavement, and I waited for the impact. I waited for the pain. But it never came. Instead, the sky went black. A shadow loomed over me, massive and terrifyingly solid. A hand, large enough to crush stone, clamped around my upper arm. I heard a voice, deep and commanding, roar a single word in Korean to the crowd, parting them like the Red Sea. Then, he switched to English. Head down, ma'am. Do not look up. I have you. The world spun violently as he lifted me off my feet. I was pressed against a chest that felt like a steel wall wrapped in a high-end suit. He smelled like rain, gun oil, and expensive cologne. I felt his hand on the back of my head, his fingers tangling in my braids, forcing my face into the crook of his shoulder to hide me from the cameras. I couldn't breathe. I was crushed against him, surrounded by the chaos, but for the first time in my life, a strange sensation washed over me. I felt safe. The heavy door of the armored car slammed shut, cutting off the noise instantly. Silence filled the small, leather-scented space. That was the first time Agent Min touched me. It was supposed to be a security protocol. But as I sat there in the dark, shaking, watching his chest heave as he scanned the perimeter through the tinted glass, I knew the truth. I was in more danger inside this car with him than I ever was outside with them. My name is Tolani. And I was about to fall in love with the one man forbidden to love me back. They call Seoul the city of miracles. My father called it a strategic posting. He sent me here with a simple instruction: look beautiful, Tolani. Smile for the cameras. Do not cause a scandal. I was a trophy. A symbol of international relations. I had an unlimited credit card, a wardrobe full of silk and gold, and a view of the Han River that cost millions. But silence is loud when you're alone in a gilded cage. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of the penthouse, watching the city lights blur. I heard the rhythmic thud of heavy boots on the marble floor behind me. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Agent Min. He checked the windows every hour, on the hour. He was a machine. A statue carved out of discipline and black tactical gear. Is it necessary to stand by the door all night, Agent Min? I asked, my reflection staring back at his dark silhouette. The security system is state-of-the-art. Systems fail, ma'am, he replied. His voice was like gravel, rough and deep. I do not. I turned to face him. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, legs shoulder-width apart, staring at a point on the wall just above my head. He refused to look me in the eye. He was perfect. Terrifyingly perfect. But then I saw it. A single drop of blood on his high cheekbone, a souvenir from the scuffle at the airport. You're bleeding, I whispered. I stepped closer. I didn't think about it. It was instinct. I reached out a hand to touch his face, to wipe away the blood. Don't, he snapped. The word was sharp, like a whip crack. My hand froze in midair. His eyes finally locked onto mine. They were dark, intense, and empty of everything except duty. Do not touch the security detail, ma'am, he said, his voice dropping an octave. It is a violation of protocol. You saved my life today, Min, I said, my voice trembling. I just wanted to say thank you. I did my job, he said coldly. That is all. Go to bed, Ms. Adebayo. You have a meeting with the agency in the morning. He turned his back on me. Just like that. Dismissed. I stood there, humiliated, my hand still burning where the air between us had felt electric. I hated his coldness. I hated his rules. But God help me, I stayed there for 10 minutes just staring at the width of his shoulders, wondering what it would take to make him turn around and look at me like I was a woman, not a package. The next morning, the strategy began. My father didn't just want me safe, he wanted me famous. A bridge between cultures. And what better bridge than a romance with Korea's sweetheart? I sat in the pastel-colored office of the entertainment agency, feeling out of place in my bold Ankara print dress. Ms. Tolani. You look radiant. Manager Kim chirped. Please, sit. Siwoo will be here any second. The door swung open, and he entered. Siwoo. The lead actor of the year. The face of every billboard in Gangnam. He was beautiful, with perfectly styled brown hair and a smile that probably cost more than my car. He walked over and took my hand, kissing the knuckles. It was smooth. Practiced. It felt like absolutely nothing. So, this is the African princess I've been hearing about? He asked, flashing a blinding white smile. I pulled my hand back. I'm not a princess, Siwoo. Just a diplomat's daughter. He winked. In this town, darling, perception is reality. If we're seen together, your father gets his publicity, and I get to be seen with the most exotic woman in Seoul. Exotic. I hated that word. It made me feel like a rare bird in a cage. I glanced at the corner of the room. Agent Min was there, blending into the shadows. His face was a mask, but I saw his gloved hand twitch by his side when Siwoo said that word. So, the contract is simple, Siwoo continued, oblivious to the tension. 6 months. 3 dates a week. Public appearances. We hold hands, we smile, maybe a cheek kiss for the paparazzi. No actual entanglements. I have a reputation to protect, you understand? A fake relationship. 4 cameras. I nodded slowly. I understand. Unless. Siwoo leaned in, his voice dropping to a flirtatious whisper that made my skin crawl. Unless you want it to be real? I've never been with a Nigerian woman before. I'm curious. He slid his hand up my bare arm. It was invasive. Too fast. Suddenly, a black blur moved across the room. Leather creaked. Agent Min didn't touch Siwoo, he just stepped between us. A massive physical barrier blocking the actor from me. Step back, Min growled. Siwoo laughed nervously, retreating. Whoa, easy there, RoboCop. We're just talking business. You are invading the client's personal space, Min said. His voice wasn't loud, but it was deadly. Step back. For the first time all morning, my heart beat faster. Not for the movie star. But for the shadow who just growled at him. It's okay, Min, I said softly. Stand down. I'll sign the contract. I signed my life away to a boy who saw me as an accessory, while the man who treated me like a precious jewel refused to even look me in the eye. That night was the launch party. The debut of the couple of the year. I was in my dressing room, preparing for the gala. I sent my stylists home early. I was angry. Angry at my father, angry at Siwoo, and mostly angry at Min. I wanted to provoke him. I wanted to prove he wasn't made of stone. I stood before the full-length mirror in a stunning gold dress. It was backless, tight, and the zipper was stuck halfway up. I took a deep breath. Agent Min. I called out. Silence followed. Then, the heavy thud of boots approaching. He stopped at the threshold of the walk-in closet, averting his eyes to the ceiling. Ma'am? Is there a breach? No breach, I said, staring at his reflection. Just a wardrobe malfunction. My stylist left. I need you to zip me up. He stiffened. I will call the hotel staff. No, I said sharply. We are running late. Siwoo is downstairs. Do it, Min. That is an order. I played the brat. I played the boss. I watched him in the mirror. His jaw clenched so hard a muscle ticked in his cheek. He took a deep breath, exhaling through his nose like a bull trying to calm itself before a charge. Then, he stepped into the room. The space suddenly felt tiny. He stood behind me, so tall I had to look up into the mirror to see his face. "Well?" I challenged. "I'm waiting." "Turn around, ma'am," he murmured. I didn't turn around. I watched him. He peeled off his black leather gloves, one finger at a time. The sound was agonizingly slow. Snap. Slide. Snap. His hands were large, scarred, and rough. He reached out. The air between his hand and my skin felt electric. Like lightning waiting to strike. Then. He touched me. His fingertips grazed the bare skin of my lower back. I gasped. I couldn't help it. His skin was calloused, hot, and rough against my silk-smooth back. "Hold still," he whispered, barely audible. "Your hands are shaking, Min," I noted, my voice breathless. "Adrenaline, ma'am," he lied. "We haven't been in a fight for 12 hours. Why are you shaking now?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. He slowly pulled the zipper up. But he didn't stop there. His knuckles dragged up my spine, tracing the line of my vertebrae. It wasn't efficient. It was worship. He paused at the top, his hand resting on the nape of my neck. His thumb brushed the sensitive skin behind my ear. In the mirror, his eyes were closed. He looked like he was in pain. He leaned forward. His chest touched my bare back. "Min." I whispered. "You should not wear this dress," he said, his voice rough and dark. "Why? Is it too revealing?" "No," he growled. "Because if you walk into that room looking like this, I cannot guarantee I won't kill every man who looks at you." My knees went weak. The heat coming off him was suffocating. I leaned back against him, letting my head rest on his shoulder. For a second, just one dangerous second, I thought he was going to kiss my neck. I tilted my head to the side, baring my throat to him. "Do it," I begged silently. "Claim me." A loud ringtone shattered the moment. Siwoo was calling. The spell broke instantly. Min stepped back, putting his mask of indifference back on. He grabbed his gloves. "Your ride is here. We are moving out." He walked out without looking back. But I saw the reflection in the glass. He was adjusting his trousers. He was affected. I smiled to myself in the mirror. The statue had cracks. And I was going to shatter him completely. The gala was a blur of fake smiles and flashing lights. Siwoo was the perfect boyfriend. He laughed at the right times, touched my waist, whispered jokes in my ear. But his eyes were dead. He was performing. I scanned the perimeter. Min was standing by a pillar, 10 meters away. He was watching Siwoo's hand on my waist with a look of pure, concentrated murder. "You're tense, babe," Siwoo whispered. "Relax. The cameras love you. Can we take a break?" I asked. My feet hurt. "Just 10 more minutes," he said through his teeth. "The investors are watching." Smile. He squeezed my waist. Hard. Too hard. It was possessive, but not in a good way. "Siwoo, you're hurting me," I said, trying to pull away. "Don't be dramatic," he snapped, gripping my wrist. "I'm helping you." "Where do you think you're going?" "We aren't done." Suddenly, a black blur entered my vision. I heard the sickening crack of bone and a gasp from the crowd. Agent Min had Siwoo's wrist twisted behind his back. Siwoo was bent over in pain, his face twisted in shock. The music stopped. The room went dead silent. "The lady said she hurts," Min said. His voice was calm, quiet, and terrifying. "You will release her." "Are you crazy?" Siwoo shrieked. "I'm her boyfriend. I'll have you fired." "Do you know who I am?" I don't care who you are, Min replied, tightening his grip. If you touch her with aggression again, I will break this wrist in 3 places. Do you understand? Every eye was on us. My father would be furious. The press would have a field day. Bodyguard attacks Korea's sweetheart. But looking at Min, standing there like a dark avenging angel, ready to destroy his own career just to stop a man from squeezing my arm, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't just guarding my body. He was guarding his property. Min just crossed the line. Do you think he's going to get fired? Or will Tolani fight for him? Hit that like button if you are enjoying this story right now, and tell me in the comments, would you choose the rich K-pop star or the dangerous bodyguard? He caught me. Of course he caught me. His arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me flush against his chest to steady me. For a moment, we just stood there in the dim fluorescent light of the garage. I could feel his heart hammering against his ribs. It was beating just as fast as mine. You're not a machine, Min, I whispered, looking up into his dark eyes. You pretend to be, but you're not. He looked down at me, and for the first time, the mask slipped completely. I saw fear. Not fear of my father, but fear of himself. Fear of what he wanted to do. He let go of me abruptly, stepping back as if I had burned him. Go upstairs, ma'am. Pack a bag. I blinked, confused. Pack a bag? Why? Because Siwoo is vindictive, he said, scanning the garage shadows. He has millions of fans. By morning, this building will be surrounded by paparazzi and angry netizens. It is not safe here. We are moving to a safe house. A safe house. Just me and him. Alone. The thought sent a jolt of electricity down my spine that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with anticipation. We left 10 minutes later in an unmarked sedan. The rain had started to fall, a heavy, torrential downpour that turned the city into a blur of neon and gray. We drove for an hour, heading out of the city and towards the mountains. The luxury high-rises faded away, replaced by dark trees and winding roads. The safe house wasn't a bunker. It was a small, traditional cabin tucked away in the forest. It was intimate. Too intimate. There was only one main room, a small kitchenette, and a fireplace that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Min locked the door behind us, checking the perimeter even though we were miles from anyone. He turned to me, water dripping from his hair onto his black tactical gear. There is no cell service here, he said. We will wait until the agency handles the press. You are safe. I looked around the small room. There was a couch. And there was one bed. Just one. I saw his eyes flick to it and then quickly look away. I will take the floor, he said, reading my mind. Don't be ridiculous, Min. You're twice my size. You'll break your back. I am fine, ma'am. Protocol dictates. Screw protocol. I yelled, the stress of the night finally boiling over. I walked up to him, getting right in his face. You almost destroyed your life for me tonight. You hurt a man because he squeezed my arm. Stop treating me like a package you have to deliver. I am a woman, Min. I am right here. He stared at me, his chest heaving. The rain pounded against the roof, filling the silence. Then, he reached out. He took my hand, the one Siwoo had grabbed, and turned it over gently. He inspected my wrist. There was a faint red mark there. His thumb brushed over the red skin, a touch so tender it made my knees weak. He shouldn't have touched you, he whispered. His voice was raw, like he was in pain. When I saw him put his hands on you, I went blind. I didn't see a movie star. I just saw a threat. And now? I asked, stepping closer. My chest brushed against his wet jacket. Do you see a threat now? He looked into my eyes, and the intensity of his gaze almost knocked me over. No, he rasped. I see the only thing in the world that matters. Thunder cracked outside, shaking the cabin. The lights flickered and died. We were plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the lightning flashing through the windows. I felt him move before I saw him. He stepped back, putting distance between us. "I will start a fire," he said, his voice straining for control. You should get out of those wet clothes. You'll catch a cold." He turned away, busying himself with the fireplace. I stood there in the dark, my heart pounding. He was running away. Again. But I wasn't going to let him. Not tonight. I went into the small bathroom and changed into the only dry thing I had packed, a large, oversized t-shirt. I took down my hair, letting the braids fall over my shoulders. When I came back out, a fire was crackling in the hearth, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. Min was sitting on the floor by the fire, cleaning his gun. It was a nervous habit. I could see his hands were still shaking slightly. He had taken off his tactical vest and his jacket. He was wearing a thin white t-shirt that clung to his damp skin, revealing the hard muscles of his back and arms. I walked over and sat down next to him on the rug. He stiffened but didn't move away. "Tell me something, Min," I said softly, watching the flames. "Why did you take this job? You're overqualified. You were special forces, weren't you?" I saw the scars. He didn't look at me. "I needed the money," he said simply. "My mother is sick. The treatments are expensive. The ambassador pays well." It broke my heart. Underneath that stoic, terrifying exterior, he was just a son trying to save his mother. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be," he replied. "It is my duty." Duty. That word again. I hated it. I reached out and took the gun from his hands, setting it on the floor. Then, I took his hands in mine. They were rough, calloused, deadly hands. But they felt like home. "Look at me, Min." He turned his head slowly. The firelight reflected in his dark eyes, making them burn like coals. "Is it just duty?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Is that all I am to you? A paycheck?" He looked at my lips. Then my eyes. Then my lips again. He looked like a starving man looking at a feast he wasn't allowed to touch. "You know you are not," he said, his voice rough. "You are everything. You are the sun. And I am just the shadow that gets to walk beside you." "Then stop being a shadow," I whispered. "Be the man." I leaned in. I gave him every chance to pull away. Every chance to cite protocol or duty or his job. But he didn't move. He sat there, frozen, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and longing. I closed the distance. My lips brushed against his. It was soft at first. Hesitant. A question. Then, he broke. A low groan ripped from his throat. His hand flew to the back of my neck, burying itself in my hair, and he pulled me against him. He didn't kiss me, he devoured me. It was desperate. It was hungry. It was the taste of months of silence and stolen glances and pent-up desire finally exploding. His mouth was hot and demanding. I opened for him, and his tongue swept into my mouth, claiming me. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him closer, needing to feel every inch of him. He shifted, pulling me onto his lap so I was straddling him. The friction was intoxicating. I could feel how much he wanted me, hard and heavy beneath me. He groaned into my mouth, his hands roaming over my back, down to my waist, gripping my hips to grind me down against him. "Tolani," he gasped, breaking the kiss to breathe. His forehead rested against mine, his eyes squeezed shut. "We have to stop. If I do this, I can't go back. I won't be able to let you go." "Then don't," I said, breathless, biting his lower lip. "Don't let me go." He looked at me then, really looked at me. And I saw the resolve harden in his eyes. He wasn't the bodyguard anymore. He was mine. He kissed me again, deeper this time, pushed me back onto the rug. He moved over me, his weight a heavy, comforting blanket. His hands weren't gentle anymore. They were everywhere, tugging at my shirt, exploring my skin, leaving trails of fire wherever he touched. I arched into him, a moan escaping my lips that got lost in his mouth. The storm outside was raging, but the storm inside this room was stronger. But just as his hand slid under the hem of my shirt, just as I was ready to give him everything. Bang. 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 Heavy fists pounded on the cabin door. We froze. Min was off me in a second, his movement so fast it was a blur. He had his gun in his hand and was standing in front of me before I could even sit up. Police. Open up. We know you're in there. My heart stopped. It wasn't the police. I knew that voice. It was the head of my father's private security team. The cleaners. Min looked back at me. His shirt was rumpled, his lips swollen, his eyes wild. But the soldier was back. Stay here, he commanded. He walked to the door. He didn't look like a man who was about to surrender. He looked like a man who was about to go to war. He opened the door. Rain and wind swept into the room. 3 men in suits stood there, looking soaked and angry. Agent Min, the lead man, spat. You are relieved of duty. The ambassador has ordered your immediate termination. You are to come with us. And Ms. AMBW? Min asked, his voice cold as ice. She comes with us too. Her flight back to Nigeria leaves in the morning. She is done in Seoul. No. I screamed, scrambling up from the floor. I ran to the door, grabbing Min's arm. I'm not going. You can't take me. Min looked down at me. His face was unreadable again. The mask was back in place. He looked at my messy hair, my swollen lips, the fear in my eyes. I'm sorry, ma'am, he said. And the way he said it. It sounded like a goodbye. He holstered his gun. He stepped aside. Min, don't do this. I pleaded, tears mixing with the rain on my face. Fight for us. He looked at the security team. Take her, he said. Keep her safe. 2 men grabbed my arms. I screamed, kicking and fighting, but they were too strong. They dragged me out into the rain, towards a waiting black van. I watched as Min stood in the doorway of the cabin, the firelight framing his silhouette. He didn't move. He didn't fight. He just watched them take me away. The silent guard. He stayed silent until the very end. I was thrown into the back of the van. The door slammed shut. As we drove away, leaving him behind in the woods, I didn't cry. I felt something else replacing the sadness. Rage. Pure, burning rage. He gave me up. He chose duty over me. He thought he was saving me. But he was wrong. I looked out the back window as the cabin disappeared into the dark wet trees. You made a mistake, Min, I whispered to the glass. You think this is over? You think you can just kiss me like that and then send me away? Am not the princess you think I am. And am not going back to Nigeria without a fight. If you want to get rid of me, Agent Min, you're going to have to look me in the eye and tell me you don't love me. And until you do that, I'm coming for you. If you think this is the end of our story, you are wrong. It's just the beginning of the war. I wiped the tears from my face. I fixed my shirt. I sat up straight. The sad girl was gone. The diplomat's daughter was gone. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I had one number I could call. One person who hated my father as much as I did right now. Siwoo. I dialed the number. Hello? Siwoo's voice answered, sounding surprised. It's Tolani, I said, my voice cold and steady. Do you still want that fake relationship? Yeah. But your bodyguard broke my wrist. My bodyguard is gone, I said. And I need a favor. I need you to help me destroy my father's reputation. There was a pause on the other line. Then, I heard a slow, malicious chuckle. Darling, Siwoo said. Tell me where you are. I'll pick you up. I hung up the phone. I looked out at the rain one last time. Wait for me, Min. I'm going to burn this whole city down to get back to you. Click the subscribe button if you are screaming at your screen right now. You do not want to miss what happens next. Tolani is going rogue, and Min is about to realize that the safest place for him was guarding her heart. Like this video if you believe they belong together, and comment Team Min or Team Siwoo below. The real drama just started. You have been warned. I wiped the rain from my face as I climbed into the passenger seat of Siwoo's sports car. He looked at me, his eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and excitement. I looked like a wreck, hair wet, oversized t-shirt clinging to my skin, eyes red, but I felt like a weapon loaded and ready to fire. You look like you just crawled out of a horror movie, babe, Siwoo said, revving the engine. Drive, I commanded, staring straight ahead. Take me to the agency. We have a press conference to schedule. Siwoo laughed, peeling out onto the wet asphalt. A press conference? At 2 a.m.? You really are crazy. I like it. But what's the angle? What are we telling them? We're telling them everything, I said, a cold smile touching my lips. We're going to give them the greatest show on earth. The next 12 hours were a blur of caffeine, stylists, and cold, hard strategy. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I fueled myself on pure spite. My father, the ambassador, was frantically calling my phone. I let it ring. He thought he had shipped me off to the airport. He thought his cleaners had handled the problem. He had no idea that the problem was currently sitting in a makeup chair in Gangnam, having her lips painted a shade of red so dark it looked like dried blood. I wasn't the diplomat's daughter anymore. I was the woman who was going to burn his reputation to the ground. The press conference was set for noon. The official story was supposed to be an announcement of my engagement to Siwoo. My father had set it up weeks ago as his crowning achievement. He was there in the front row, looking smug in his gray suit, checking his watch. He thought I was coming out to play the good little girl one last time before he shipped me back to Nigeria. I walked onto the stage. The flashes were blinding, 1,000 lightning strikes going off at once. I was wearing a dress that violated every protocol my father had ever set, crimson red, tight, and unapologetically bold. A silence fell over the room. I could hear the shutter clicks of the cameras like a swarm of mechanical locusts. I stepped up to the microphone. I looked down at my father. His smile faltered. He saw the fire in my eyes, and for the first time, the great ambassador looked terrified. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, my voice steady and amplified through the speakers. Thank you for coming. My father brought me to this country to build a bridge. To show you the beauty of diplomacy. I paused, letting the tension build. I looked at Siwoo, standing next to me, grinning like an idiot. He thought this was his moment. But diplomacy is a lie, I continued, my voice dropping. It's a mask we wear to hide the ugly truth. And I am done wearing masks. I turned to Siwoo. I took the engagement ring he had given me, a prop from the agency, and I pulled it off my finger. I dropped it on the podium. The sound of the metal hitting the wood echoed through the silent room. This relationship is a fraud, I said into the mic. It was a contract signed by two men who wanted to use me as currency. I do not love this man. I never have. The room exploded. Reporters were shouting questions. My father was standing up, his face purple with rage, signaling for his security to cut the feed. But I wasn't done. There is only one man I have ever loved in this city, I shouted over the noise, gripping the podium. A man who taught me that honor isn't about following orders. It's about protecting what matters. He isn't a prince. He isn't a movie star. He is a ghost. A shadow. And he is the only honest thing in this entire room. I looked directly into the main camera lens. I knew he was watching. Wherever they were holding him, whatever cell or airport terminal he was sitting in, I knew Agent Min was watching. Min. I screamed into the camera, tears finally breaking through my anger. If you're watching this, don't you dare get on that plane. You promised to protect me. Well, I'm in danger, Min. I'm drowning here. Come and save me, you coward. My father's security team stormed the stage. 2 men grabbed my arms, dragging me away from the microphone. I didn't fight them. I just kept my eyes on the camera, screaming his name until they cut the feed and the screen went black. Don't forget to subscribe right now, because what happens next is the moment we have all been waiting for. They dragged me into a holding room backstage. My father came in seconds later, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. He slapped me. It was a sharp, stinging blow across the face that knocked me into the couch. You foolish girl. He roared. Do you have any idea what you have done? You have humiliated me. You have humiliated your country. I touched my cheek, tasting blood. I looked up at him and smiled. I didn't humiliate you, father. I just showed the world who you really are. He grabbed me by the hair, forcing me to look at him. You are going home, Tolani. Tonight. And this time, there will be no escape. I will have you locked in the compound until you learn your place. He turned to his head of security. Take her to the private jet. Do not let her out of your sight. If she speaks, gag her. The guards grabbed me again. I was dragged out the back exit, into the cold, gray afternoon. They shoved me into the back of a black van, the same kind that had taken me away from the cabin. It felt like history repeating itself. I sat in the dark, my heart pounding against my ribs. Had he seen it? Was he coming? Or was I truly alone this time? The van moved through the city, heading toward the private airfield. I watched the streets roll by, feeling a deep, crushing despair settling in. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was just a soldier after all. Maybe he. Crash. The world turned upside down. A massive force slammed into the side of the van. Metal screeched against metal. The van spun wildly, glass shattering, tires squealing, before tipping onto its side and sliding to a halt. I groaned, hanging from my seatbelt in the darkness. Dust and smoke filled the air. I heard the groans of the guards in the front seat. Then, silence. Then, footsteps. Heavy. Rhythmic. Boots crunching on broken glass. The back doors of the van were ripped open with a terrifying screech of metal. Light flooded in. And there, framed by the sun, standing amidst the wreckage like a god of war, was Agent Min. He was wearing civilian clothes, jeans, and a black hoodie, but he looked more dangerous than I had ever seen him in a suit. His face was bruised, his lip cut, but his eyes. His eyes were burning. He reached in, his knife flashing as he cut my seatbelt. I fell into his arms, and he pulled me out of the wreckage, crushing me against his chest. You called, ma'am? He rasped, his voice shaking. I buried my face in his neck, sobbing. You're late. Traffic was bad, he quipped, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. He pulled back to look at me, his hands cupping my face, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they hurt you? I'm fine, I wept. Just get me out of here. He nodded. He turned to lead me away, but we stopped. My father's second security car had pulled up. 4 men got out, guns drawn. They blocked the alleyway. Agent Min. One of them shouted. Stand down. You are outnumbered. Min pushed me behind him. He didn't flinch. He didn't look scared. He looked bored. Stay behind me, Tolani, he said quietly. Min, they have guns, I whispered, clutching his hoodie. I know, he said calmly. He cracked his knuckles. Close your eyes. I didn't close my eyes. I watched. It was a blur of violence. Min moved with a speed that defied logic. He disarmed the first man before he could even blink, using the man's own body as a shield. He didn't shoot them, he dismantled them. It was brutal, efficient, and terrifying. It was the result of a lifetime of training unleashed for one single purpose: love. Within 30 seconds, the 4 men were on the ground, groaning in pain. Min stood over them, barely breathing hard. He adjusted his hoodie, then turned back to me and held out his hand. "We have to go," he said. "The police will be here in 2 minutes." "Where?" I asked, taking his hand. "Where can we possibly go?" "Anywhere," he said. "As long as it's together." We ran. We ran through the back alleys of Seoul, hand in hand, leaving the wreckage of my old life behind. We took a train to Busan, disappearing into the crowds. We became ghosts. 6 months later. The ocean breeze was warm. I stood on the balcony of a small apartment overlooking the beach in Busan. It wasn't a penthouse. The paint was peeling, and the faucet leaked. But it was ours. I heard the door open behind me. Min walked in, carrying bags of groceries. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a white t-shirt and shorts, his hair messy from the wind. He looked younger. Lighter. He set the bags down and walked over to me, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder, looking out at the sunset. "Your father is still looking for us," he murmured against my neck. "Let him look," I said, leaning back into him. "He'll never find us." "Do you miss it?" he asked softly. "The gold? The parties? The fame?" I turned in his arms to face him. I traced the scar on his jaw with my thumb. I looked at the man who had given up his country, his career, and his life just to keep me safe. "I have everything I need right here," I whispered. He smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached his eyes. He leaned down and kissed me. It wasn't the desperate, hungry kiss of the cabin. It was slow. Sweet. It was the kiss of a man who knew he had all the time in the world. "I love you, Tolani," he said. "I love you, Min." He picked me up, effortlessly lifting me into his arms, and carried me back inside, kicking the balcony door shut behind us with his foot. The screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of the ocean and our laughter. The silent guard didn't just protect my body. He saved my soul. And in the end, I saved his. That is the story of Tolani and Agent Min. But wait, do you think they can stay hidden forever? If this video gets over 10,000 views, I will write a season 2 where the ambassador hires a bounty hunter to track them down. You do not want to miss that. Smash that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and comment season 2 below if you want more of this spicy Afro-Korean romance. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous love is the only one worth fighting for.